Philosophy is a path that people choose to live by. With teaching, it would be how one would teach his or her students. My personal teacher philosophy would be closely tied around progressivism, which was established by John Dewey, and essentialism, which was termed by William Bagley in the 1930s. Progressivism is a student-centered philosophy, and the reason I chose this is because it applies what you are teaching to the real world and helps students come up with real-world problems. I also like the independence that students will have with this philosophy. The teacher would not be in front of the classroom telling the class what they need to do and how to do it, but instead is directing them with what they need to do and let them figure out the problem with as minimum help as possible from the teacher. This philosophy was built around the experiences, interests, and abilities of the students. And when put into groups, it would make a very diverse group of students, each with different ideas to contribute. Essentialism is a teacher-centered philosophy, and why I chose it is because it is centered on the core curriculum and is a back to basics approach to teaching, meaning it is a more traditional way to teach students. It teaches students to train the mind, promote reasoning, and ensure a common culture among all Americans. Though I do not completely agree with the common culture, I prefer more diverse kind of students so that way everybody can learn all these different cultures and learn greater roles from all these different people from around the country. And so with the first 2 points, I do agree with because it's training the mind and teaching reasoning. With these, it creates a sense of logic with the students that they can take and apply to their lives and making the right choices. The downside with this is that it would dictate the students, for they would have a choice with how they would like to learn, but rather the teacher's choice. Since students have a different way of learning and different talents and abilities, a teacher-controlled environment will lessen their ability to think independently. This is why I like to combine it with progressivism, which promotes independent thinking. The teacher would still be in control of the lesson, but the students would have to choose to learn on their own or in groups, so that they would get the most out of the lesson. All students have different abilities and talents, and that doesn't apply with race or gender. Everyone has a different way of learning, and that is regardless of gender and race stereotypes. They all have a chance to learn. I do prefer a more traditional way of life and teaching, but if someone has a different view, I'm always up for discussion. And that way people don't feel comfortable around me, or they believe that they can't do well because of all these stereotypes. That is one common factor that everybody has, is because everybody has a different way of learning. This applies to progressive philosophy, where everyone contributes to the group. They all have different abilities, so if one student is struggling with someone, everyone can help them so that they do not feel left out. With all this in mind, imagine a classroom where progressivism and essentialism are both applied. The main lesson would be taught in the beginning of class, and then about halfway through the class, they would even go into groups, or just be by themselves if they prefer, and they would figure out the assignment that is given to them. I would go around the room helping if they need it, or praising them for the good work if they're doing a good job on it. And then there would also be presentations on those subjects that would apply to the lesson, so that I would know that they are learning, and as well as games, so that way we're not always just sitting around in the classroom, and it also applies to lessons, so that way they're still learning. And this would be my philosophy and how I imagine it.